I'm standing in the boardroom of Morrison Industries, staring at my parents across their polished mahogany table. Mom sits perfectly straight in her designer suit. Dad adjusts his silver cufflinks. Between them sits a girl I've never seen before. Blonde, smirking, radiating confidence like she owns the place already. "Claire, we need to discuss your future," Dad begins, his voice flat and businesslike. Not the warm tone he used when teaching me to ride a bike. This is his boardroom voice. Cold. Final. Mom slides a folder across the table. "We're transferring company leadership to Melissa, our biological daughter." The words hit like ice water. Biological daughter. As if the 24 years I spent as their child meant nothing. As if every sacrifice, every late night studying to make them proud, every moment I believed I was their daughter, all of it was just temporary. Melissa leans back, examining her perfect manicured nails. She doesn't even try to hide her satisfaction. "Nothing personal," she says sweetly, though her eyes say otherwise. I should be shocked, angry, devastated. Instead, I meet my parents' eyes and say quietly, "I already knew." The silence that follows is delicious. Dad's confident expression falters. Mom's hand freezes halfway to her water glass. Even Melissa looks confused, her smirk slipping for just a second. But I don't elaborate. Not yet. Instead, my mind drifts to memories I've spent years trying to bury. I was 7 when I first sensed something was different. Mom would flinch when people said I had her eyes. Dad never hung my artwork on his office wall like other parents did. I worked twice as hard as any kid in my class. Perfect grades weren't enough. I needed the highest scores. Piano recitals, debate team, volunteering. I collected achievements like armor, hoping each one would make them love me the way parents are supposed to love their children. At 12, I overheard Mom crying to her sister. "She tries so hard, but she'll never really be mine." The words carved themselves into my heart. I didn't understand then. I just knew I needed to try harder. So I did. I was 17 when I found the box. It was buried in the attic behind Christmas decorations, covered in dust thick enough to write in. Inside were documents, adoption papers with my name, Claire Henderson, soon to be Claire Morrison. Medical records for a baby born 3 states away. A handwritten note. "We'll tell her when she's ready." They never did. I sat in that dusty attic for hours, papers scattered around me, understanding finally clicking into place. Every distant look, every comparison to other children, every time they said I was lucky to be here. It all made sense. The smart move would have been to confront them. Demand answers. Instead, I carefully placed everything back exactly as I found it. Then I went downstairs and asked Mom what she wanted for dinner, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I just didn't show it. I smiled wider, worked harder, became the perfect daughter. 'Cause maybe I thought if I was perfect enough they'd love me anyway. "This is Melissa Morrison," Dad continues, trying to regain control of the meeting. "Your sister. She's been living in Europe, but she's ready to take her rightful place in the family business." Melissa stands, extending her hand with practiced grace. "I've heard so much about you, Claire. Dad says you've been helpful these past few years." The pause before helpful is deliberate. Insulting. I shake her hand, keeping my face neutral. Up close, I can see the designer labels, the expensive highlights, the confidence that comes from never doubting you're wanted. She's everything I tried to be but never could. They're actual blood. Melissa graduated from Oxford. Mom adds, voice filled with pride I've never heard directed at me. Top of her business program. She has innovative ideas for the company's future. "How nice," I say softly. "I only went to State University and ran the entire operations division for 3 years. But Oxford sounds impressive." The sarcasm is subtle enough that they can't call me out. But Melissa's eyes narrow. She heard it. Dad clears his throat. "Claire, we're grateful for your contributions." Really. But Melissa is family. True family. It's only right she inherit what's ours. True family. The words are knives, each one precise and deliberate. Mom nods in agreement. You've been very fortunate to grow up with the Morrison name and privileges. We gave you opportunities most adopted children never receive. There it is. The gaslighting begins. Rewriting history to paint themselves as generous benefactors instead of parents who raised a child they adopted. You paid for my education, I acknowledge. Gave me a job in the company. A salary. I list each thing calmly like items on a receipt. You're right. I've been very lucky. Melissa relaxes, thinking I'm surrendering. Mom looks relieved. Dad actually smiles. I'm glad you understand, Claire. We'll give you a generous severance package. Help you transition to another career. Smile back. It doesn't reach my eyes. That's very kind of you. I stand smoothing my skirt. When should I clear out my office? End of the month, Dad says. That gives you time to transfer your projects to Melissa. They think I'm defeated. They have no idea. As I walk out of that boardroom, I think about the past 6 months. About the late nights I've spent, not just working but preparing. It started when I overheard Dad on the phone, talking to someone about restructuring and bringing Melissa back. I knew then what was coming, so I started building my safety net. Quietly, carefully. Every document I created, I saved copies to my personal encrypted cloud. Every process I developed, I documented thoroughly, with my name and date stamps on every page. Every successful project I led, I kept detailed records proving my contributions. But I did more than that. I started asking questions. Innocent ones. Hey Dad, why did the Amsterdam deal fall through in 2019? Or, Mom, whatever happened to that investor who pulled out suddenly? I listened. I researched. I discovered things about Morrison Industries that my parents had worked very hard to keep buried. Things that made my adoption papers look like a light secret in comparison. Over the next 2 weeks, I noticed something interesting. The staff at Morrison Industries treats me differently than they treat Melissa. When I walk through the operations floor, people actually smile. They ask my opinion. They bring me problems to solve. When Melissa walks through, already acting like she owns the place, people scatter. They give her polite smiles that don't reach their eyes. They nod at her suggestions but don't implement them. Claire, we need your signature on the Peterson contract. Sarah from legal stops me in the hallway. She's been with the company 15 years, longer than I've been alive. Give it to Melissa, I suggest. She's taking over soon. Sarah's expression turns cold. Ms. Morrison doesn't understand the Peterson account. You built that relationship. They trust you. She lowers her voice. Frankly, most of us are worried about what happens when you leave. File this away. I'm sure Melissa will do fine. We'll see, Sarah says, but her tone says she doesn't believe it'd be week 3. The whispers have turned into something more. I'm in the break room when I hear David from accounting talking to Jennifer from marketing. Did you hear? The old man's giving everything to the biological daughter. Just cutting Claire out completely. That's insane, Jennifer hisses. Claire built half our current client base. She redesigned the entire supply chain. What has Melissa done? Been born to the right parents, apparently. They spot me and go silent, embarrassed. I just smile and pour my coffee. It's fine, I tell them. Really? I understand their decision. But David shakes his head. It's not fine. It's not right. He hesitates, then adds quietly. If you ever need anything, references, testimony about your work, you let me know. I nod, genuinely touched. Thank you, David. Later, 3 more people make similar offers. By the end of the week, it's clear. The staff's loyalty lies with me, not my parents or their golden child. Friday night, Mom insists on a family dinner at their estate. I arrive to find the dining room set with the good china, the stuff we only used for important guests. Apparently, I'm not important enough for everyday dishes anymore, but I'm guest-worthy now. Melissa is already there, holding court about her time in London. The business culture is so much more sophisticated, she's saying. American companies are rather provincial. Dad laughs like this is brilliant insight instead of thinly veiled insult. Mom refills Melissa's wine glass attentively. I might as well be furniture for all the attention they pay me. Claire, could you pass the bread? Mom asks without looking at me. I'm useful for small tasks apparently. During dessert, Dad raises his glass. To Melissa. Welcome home, darling. Morrison Industries is lucky to have you. They clink glasses, beaming at their real daughter. Nobody toasts me. Nobody acknowledges the 3 years I've poured into their company. I sit there, eating tiramisu, recording every word on my phone hidden under the table. That night, I drive back to my apartment, a small place I insisted on renting instead of staying in my parents' guest house. Even before I knew about Melissa, some instinct told me to maintain independence. I lock the door, pour a glass of wine, and finally let myself feel it. The grief crashes over me in waves. I curl up on my couch and cry. Deep, ugly sobs for the parents who never really loved me, for the sister who appeared to take everything, for the family I never truly had. My phone buzzes. A text from Mom. Thank you for being understanding about all this. You're making it much easier. I stare at the message, tears still wet on my cheeks. Making it easier. Even my pain is supposed to be convenient for them. I wipe my face and open my laptop. Time to stop crying. Time to finish what I started months ago. I pull up the folder labeled Morrison Industries, Private, and review my findings one more time. Then I whisper to my empty apartment. Time to end this. The documents tell an interesting story. Morrison Industries look successful on paper. Steady growth, healthy profits, satisfied investors. But dig deeper and cracks appear. 3 years ago, Dad made a deal with a construction company called Apex Builders. On the surface, it's legitimate. Morrison Industries needed new warehouses. Apex built them. Simple. Except Apex is owned by Dad's college roommate Marcus Webb. And the contract was awarded without competitive bidding. And the price tag was 40% higher than comparable projects. And somehow, Marcus bought a vacation home in the Cayman Islands right after the deal closed. That's called embezzlement, fraud, corporate corruption. I have emails between Dad and Marcus discussing how to keep things quiet and maximize the return on both ends. They thought they deleted these. They didn't know I had already configured the company server to archive everything to a secure backup. But that's not all I found. Mom has her own secrets in the marketing budget. Phantom consulting fees paid to companies that don't exist. Money that somehow ends up in offshore accounts. For the past 6 months, I've been methodically collecting evidence. Bank statements that don't quite match company records. Invoices for services never rendered. Email chains discussing creative accounting. I'm not a forensic accountant, but I don't need to be. The pattern is clear. My parents have been systematically stealing from their own company for years. Small amounts at first, then larger as they got confident. Probably over $2 million by now. I create a detailed spreadsheet tracking every suspicious transaction. I compile the supporting documents, emails, invoices, bank transfers. I organize everything chronologically, making it easy to follow the trail of fraud. Then I save multiple copies. Cloud storage. External hard drive. USB drives hidden in 3 different locations. I even mail one to my lawyer with instructions not to open it unless I request. I'm not taking chances. This evidence is my insurance policy. My leverage. My way of ensuring that when my parents try to erase me from their lives, I don't go quietly. Claire, I need you to sign this. Dad catches me in my office, holding paperwork. Just a formality. Transfer of responsibilities to Melissa. I scan the document. It's more than responsibility transfer. It's a complete surrender of any claim to company projects I developed. My work, my ideas, my innovations. All handed to Melissa like they were never mine. At the bottom is a clause that makes my blood run cold. Claire Morrison acknowledges she has no ownership stake or future claims to Morrison Industries or its intellectual property. This seems excessive, I say carefully. I'm already leaving. Dad's expression hardens. Sign it, Claire. Don't make this difficult. It's not a request. It's a threat. Sign or lose even the severance package. So I sign. But what Dad doesn't know is that earlier this week, I met with a lawyer and filed documents with the state business registry. Documents that changed everything. I smile as I hand back the pen. There you go. Good girl, Dad says, taking the papers. Like I'm a child who finally obeyed. Melissa's first week as official heir is spectacular, in the worst way possible. She schedules a meeting with our biggest client, Hartman Manufacturing, without reading their account history. She shows up 30 minutes late, wearing a designer outfit completely inappropriate for a factory tour. Then she tries to renegotiate their contract, suggesting we raise prices by 20% because you're getting Morrison quality now. Never mind that I spent 2 years building that relationship by keeping prices competitive while improving service. Tom Hartman, the CEO, calls me directly afterward. Claire, what the hell is going on? Your sister just tried to strong-arm me like I'm some chump. I'm transitioning out, I explain carefully. Melissa will find her footing. Find her footing. She insulted my procurement manager and suggested our factory was quaint. We're a Fortune 500 company, Claire. We don't need Morrison Industries. We stayed because of you. The call ends with Hartman saying he's reconsidering the partnership. I document the conversation in my personal files and forward Tom's follow-up email to my secure storage. By week 2 of Melissa's reign, the staff is in near revolt. She's changed protocols I established, ignored advice from senior employees, and generally treated everyone like incompetent children. Sarah from legal stops by my office. We need to talk. She closes the door and sits down, looking stressed. Melissa fired Danny from logistics today. Said he was too slow to adapt to her vision. Danny's been with the company 12 years. He's the only person who fully understands our European distribution network. On what grounds? No grounds. She just can't stand that he questioned her new routing system. The system that makes no sense, by the way. I lean back in my chair. What do you want me to do? I'm leaving in a week. Sarah meets my eyes. We want you to stay. Fight this. We'll back you. All of us. She slides a paper across my desk. It's a petition signed by 47 employees, nearly the entire operations staff, requesting that I remain in leadership. This is, wow. I scan the names, genuinely moved. But my parents have decided. Then help us decide differently. The breaking point comes during a company-wide meeting. Melissa presents the new quarterly strategy, except it's not new. It's my strategy, the one I presented to the board 6 months ago. The one Dad rejected as too aggressive. Now Melissa's claiming it as her vision. She's even using my slides, just changed the name at the top. I sit in the back of the conference room, watching her take credit for months of my research and planning. When she finishes, the room is silent. Then Sarah raises her hand. Melissa, this looks remarkably similar to the proposal Claire presented in March. Can you explain the differences? Melissa's face flushes. I don't know what you're talking about. This is my original work. Really? Because I have Claire's original presentation saved. Time-stamped. Same charts, same data, same conclusions. Sarah's voice is calm but devastating. You even kept her typo on slide 12. The room erupts in whispers. Melissa looks at Mom and Dad, panicking. They sit frozen, caught between defending their biological daughter and maintaining credibility. I stand up. It's fine, Sarah. Consider it my parting gift. Melissa can have the strategy and the credit. I walk out, leaving chaos behind. That evening, my parents show up at my apartment. Both of them, which is unusual. They never visit me here. Too small, too humble, too much evidence of the life I built separate from their wealth. You're undermining Melissa, Dad says without preamble. Turning the staff against her. I set down my tea. I haven't said a word against Melissa. The staff is making their own judgments based on her actions. Mom's voice is sharp. You're poisoning them against her. This is exactly why we can't trust you. You're bitter and vindictive. The accusation is so unfair I almost laugh. I stayed quiet when you announced her. I signed your papers. I praised her in meetings. What more do you want? We want you to leave. Before the end of the month. Dad pulls out an envelope. Here's your severance. Full amount. But you're done tomorrow. Open the envelope. The check is generous. 6 months' salary. Apparently, my silence is worth exactly that much. Fine. They exchange looks, surprised I agreed so easily. Good. Clean out your office tonight. What my parents don't know is that 2 years ago, when the company was struggling, I lent Morrison Industries $50,000 from my personal savings. Dad needed cash quickly to cover payroll, and I helped without thinking twice. He gave me a promissory note and a contract granting me a small equity stake, 2% as collateral. Just temporary, he assured me, until cash flow improves. Then he never paid me back. He forgot about it completely. But I didn't. I kept that contract properly notarized and filed with the state. And 2% might not sound like much, but it's enough to have legal standing. Enough to access company financial records. Enough to have a voice in major decisions. Tonight, while packing my office, I make copies of everything. Client contacts, project files, processes I developed. All of it properly documented as my intellectual property since I created it before signing Dad's surrender document. Then I email my lawyer. Tomorrow we file. He responds immediately. Ready when you are. I take one last look at my office. The place where I worked myself to exhaustion trying to earn love that was never coming, and turn off the lights. The next morning I request an emergency board meeting. As a shareholder I have that right. The board is confused, they thought I was gone. My parents are furious, but legally they can't refuse. We meet in the boardroom where this all started. Dad sits at the head of the table, Mom beside him, Melissa glaring at me like I'm an insect. The 5 board members look uncomfortable, sensing drama. Thank you for coming, I begin, standing at the presentation screen. I have information the board needs to see regarding financial irregularities at Morrison Industries. Dad's face goes white. Claire, this is inappropriate. Is it inappropriate to show the board evidence of embezzlement? Because that's what I'm here to discuss. Click the remote. The first slide appears. The Apex Builders contract. Let's start with this $3 million deal with a company owned by Dad's college roommate. A deal awarded without competitive bidding, at 40% above market rate. The room erupts in shocked voices. For the next 30 minutes, I walk the board through everything. The phantom consulting fees. The offshore accounts. The kickbacks and fraudulent invoices. I show them emails, bank records, transaction histories. Mom tries to interrupt. This is slander. She's making this up because we chose Melissa. Making it up. I click to a new slide showing an email from Dad to Marcus Webb. As discussed, the extra 40% will be split 60-40 between us. Keep the documentation clean. I look at the board. That's his email address. His signature. His words. One board member, Robert Chen, is taking furious notes. He's been on the board for 20 years, brought the company public. He built his reputation on integrity, and he looks absolutely horrified. How long has this been going on? Robert asks, voice hard. Based on the records I found, at least 4 years. Probably longer, but they got better at hiding it in earlier years. Melissa stands up. This is ridiculous. She's lying because she's bitter. Dad, tell them she's lying. But Dad can't speak. He just sits there, face pale, knowing everything is about to collapse. Robert Chen takes control of the meeting. Richard, Patricia, I'm formally requesting your immediate resignation from all executive positions, pending a full forensic audit. Dad finds his voice. You can't do that. I founded this company. And you've been stealing from it. From shareholders, from employees, from your own business. Robert's voice is like ice. The board will vote. all in favor of removing Richard and Patricia Morrison from executive roles. 5 hands go up. Only Mom and Dad vote against it. It's over in seconds. Years of building their empire, destroyed in a single vote. Mom turns on me furious. You ungrateful, spiteful girl. After everything we did for you. We gave you a home, a life, and this is how you repay us. You stole millions, I say quietly. I'm not the villain here. Melissa stands beside her parents, tears running down her face. You're destroying our family. No, I correct her. They destroyed it when they chose fraud over integrity. And when they chose you over the daughter who actually built something here. I gather my papers. The board has my evidence. Do with it what you must. The news breaks within hours. Morrison Industries executives ousted in fraud scandal. The business press has a field day. My parents' faces are on the front page of the local paper, looking shocked and defeated. Their country club friends stop calling. The charity boards ask them to step down. The social circles they treasured turn cold. In 3 days, they go from respected pillars of the community to pariahs. Melissa tries to maintain her position at the company, but the board removes her too. She wasn't involved in the fraud, but her incompetence is documented. She leaves in tears, threatening to sue, though her lawyers eventually convince her she has no case. The prosecutors get involved. Dad and Mom are charged with multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. They hire expensive lawyers, but the evidence I compiled is too thorough. Their lawyers actually call me, trying to negotiate. What do you want? They ask. Money. A stake in the company. Name your price. I want them to face consequences. I tell them. That's all. The trial takes 8 months. I testify, laying out everything I found. The prosecutor calls me a hero. The defense tries to paint me as a bitter adopted child seeking revenge. But the evidence speaks for itself. Dad gets 4 years. Mom gets 3. Both are sentenced to federal prison and ordered to pay restitution of $2.3 million. Their assets are seized, the house, the cars, the vacation properties. Everything they built on stolen money is taken away. I attend the sentencing. Mom won't look at me. Dad stares straight ahead, face empty. Melissa sits in the back row, crying. She lost everything too. The inheritance, the family business, the life she expected. For a moment I feel something like pity. Then I remember the boardroom, the dismissive looks, the years I spent believing I wasn't good enough because I wasn't really theirs. The judge bangs his gavel. Court is adjourned. Security leads my parents away in handcuffs. I watch them go and feel nothing but relief that it's finally over. Morrison Industries brings me back as Chief Operations Officer. The board wants someone they can trust, someone who proved their loyalty when it mattered. The staff actually cheers when Robert announces my return. I restructure everything my parents corrupted. We implement strict oversight, ethical guidelines, transparent accounting. Slowly, we rebuild the company's reputation. Clients who fled come back. The staff is energized, working for something they believe in again. Sarah from legal becomes my right hand. David from accounting leads our new ethics committee. We promote based on merit, not nepotism. We build something real. 1 year after the trial, Morrison Industries is profitable again. We're featured in business magazines as a turnaround story. From scandal to success, the headlines read. They interview me asking how I did it. Integrity, I tell them simply. We decided to do business the right way. Everything else followed. I don't mention my parents. Don't need to. Their story is already told. 2 years after everything fell apart, I drive past my parents' old house. It's been sold to a young family. I can see kids' toys in the yard, bikes on the porch. Looks happy. Lived in. Real. My parents are still in prison. They send letters sometimes, forwarded through their lawyer. I don't open them. Maybe someday I will, but not now. The wounds are too fresh, the betrayal too deep. Melissa moved to California, married someone wealthy. We don't speak. I saw her engagement announcement on social media. She looked happy. Hope she is. Despite everything, I don't wish her harm. I pull up to my own house now. A modest place in a nice neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, earned with honest work. Inside, my walls are covered with photos of my real family. Sarah and David from work, my boyfriend Mark who supported me through the trial, friends who stood by me when everything exploded. My phone buzzes. A text from Robert. Board meeting Tuesday. Big news about expansion. I smile, typing back. I'll be there. Then I walk inside my house, pour a glass of wine, and sit on my porch watching the sunset. Somewhere, my parents are learning that actions have consequences. That family isn't just blood. It's loyalty, integrity, and love that isn't conditional. I learned that the hard way. But I learned it. And now I'm building something better. A life where I don't have to prove my worth because I already know it. A life where family is the people who choose you, not the ones who share your DNA. That's enough. That's everything.